This documentary is intended to prove that the Miranda v. Arizona landmark Supreme Court case changed the interrogation process for citizens' rights and law enforcement's responsibilities. The Miranda v. Arizona case was a decision made by the United States Supreme Court. It stated that all people who are being interrogated must be read their constitutional rights to silence and to an attorney. On March 3, 1963, 22-year-old Ernesto Miranda kidnapped Lois Ann Jameson, drove her to a nearby desert, and raped her. 10 days later, on March 13th, the victim's brother spotted the car that his sister had described and that had the same license plate. Detective Cooley and Detective Young of the Phoenix Police Department went to the house and arrested one Ernesto Miranda. Once brought to the police department, Miranda was put in a lineup, and Jameson said he looked most like her assailant, but could not give a positive identification. Miranda was then taken into an interrogation room and told he had been identified, which was a false statement. After 2 hours of intense questioning, Miranda signed a confession admitting to the charges and that he knew his full constitutional rights. The trial began on June 20th, 1963. Miranda's court-appointed lawyer, Alvin Moore, tried to push an insanity plea, but it didn't work. Before the confession was admitted in the courtroom, Moore objected, saying the confession was involuntary. He was overruled by presiding Judge E.L. McFate. The 9-man, 3-woman jury deliberated for a mere 5 hours before returning with a guilty verdict. Miranda was sentenced to 20 to 30 years in prison. Miranda appealed to the Arizona State Supreme Court, and on April 22, 1965, his conviction was upheld on the grounds that he had not asked for a lawyer and therefore had not been denied one. Miranda's court-appointed lawyer felt that he did not have the necessary funds or the strength to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. So, John Flynn and his law partner, John Frank, represented Miranda free of charge. Miranda filed an appeal to the United States Supreme Court in late spring of 1965. He was granted appeal on November 22nd. The arguments finally began on February 28th.
Number 759, Ernest Miranda, petitioner versus Arizona.
Now, the issue before the court is the admission in evidence of the defendant's confession under the facts and circumstances of this case over the specific objection of his trial counsel that it had been given in the absence of counsel. I believe that the record indicates that at no time during the interrogation and prior to his confession, his oral confession, was he advised either of his rights to remain silent, of his right to counsel, or of his right to consult with counsel.
Approximately 2 months later, on June 13th, the court delivered their opinion, and by a vote of 5 to 4, the court decided in Miranda's favor. After the Supreme Court's decision, Miranda was retried for the crimes. He was found guilty and sentenced to 25 years in prison. Since the Miranda v. Arizona Supreme Court decision, law enforcement officials must read a suspect their constitutional rights immediately following their arrest. Over time, there has been much controversy over whether or not it is necessary for police officers to inform suspects of their rights.
Miranda warning guidelines state a suspect must be told that they have the right to remain silent. Anything the suspect says is admissible in court. And lastly, they have the right to an attorney, and one is assigned to them if they cannot afford one.
Right to remain silent. Anything you do or say can be used, what's the next part? As a flotation device. As a flotation device.